Superman, Man of Tomorrow is the first Superman origin story in the latest reboot of the WB DC animation universe following the end of Justice League Dark Apokolips War. For anyone who may be confused, the DC comic book animated movies sort of go the same route the comic books take, but get animated a few years later. Prior to the launch of DC's Rebirth, for example, Jeff Johns' Flashpoint story created the New 52 line of comics, which had their movie equivalent being The Flashpoint Paradox. Justice League War, an origin story of how Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the rest first met one another, was the first title released in the new universe. So it's safe to say that Justice League War continuity encompassed all the animated movies WB released, culminating in Justice League Dark Apokolips War. But the New 52 line of comics was wildly unpopular with readers due to the drastic changes many of their favorite characters underwent, Superman being one of them. In response to the outcry, DC Rebirth happened and negated a lot of those changes. I consider this movie, Superman, Man of Tomorrow, to be the DC Rebirth of WB animation. Superman, Man of Tomorrow is directed by Chris Palmer, who also directed several episodes of Netflix's Voltron Legendary Defender and was a storyboard artist on Young Justice, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Legend of Korra. The simplicity of the character designs from Voltron and Korra can be seen here. And by that I mean there isn't a lot of shading in the face or body movements, and very little detail is added to the clothing. Everything looks very flat, but the dark outlines of the characters make them very much look like they're from a comic book, so I think the flatness kind of works. What I don't think works is how quiet a great portion of the soundtrack is. A few scenes really stuck out to me in the beginning because there was no background music of any kind during a number of conversations. It was dead silent. Just to be sure I wasn't losing my hearing, I watched random sections of Flashpoint and Apokolips War, and sure enough, there was music or a tune of some sort playing at a low volume in the background when characters were talking and when they were locked in action. Full disclosure, that problem did go away with this movie as the movie progressed, but I had to bring it up because the music really would have helped create a more interesting atmosphere around those earlier conversations. Being a rebirth of sorts, there's a brand new voice behind Superman. Jerry O'Connell is out and Darren Criss is in. I'm not as familiar with Darren's work as I am with Jerry's, but Chris did a good job as Clark and as Superman. He was inquisitive and unsure of himself when he was Clark at the Daily Planet, especially when talking to Alexandra Daddario's Lois Lane, and he projected confidence and purpose when he was Superman. Zachary Quinto of the Star Trek reboot movies is the new Lex Luthor, though Lex is in prison for 80% of the runtime, so it was difficult for me to gauge Quinto's portrayal of Superman's arch-nemesis, mainly because they aren't really enemies yet. More on that promptly. Rounding up the cast is Ryan Hurst, who played Opie on Sons of Anarchy as the main man Lobo, and he was great. And lastly, Ike Amadi was Martian Manhunter and Brett Dalton was Parasite. Amadi, who also voiced Shao Kahn and Cyrax in Mortal Kombat 11, including many other video games, sounded really good as John, but he didn't get to say very much. It was the same case with Dalton, who had a couple of lines as a human, then transformed into an incomprehensible roaring monster. Superman, Man of Tomorrow is a semi-new origin story for Clark Kent. It's only half because it doesn't retread his escape from Krypton and growing up with the Kents. That part's already assumed to be known. What's new is that neither he nor Ma and Pa Kent know he's of Kryptonian descent until Lobo arrives on Earth seeking Clark's head for a bounty. He doesn't already have his iconic suit at the start of the movie, no one knows him as Superman, and Lex Luthor doesn't see him yet as a major threat. Lex and Clark aren't friends, but they're friendly enough that Clark doesn't hesitate to ask Lex for help, and Lex doesn't hesitate to actually help. I would venture to say that Superman Man of Tomorrow takes place in the back half, that is, the fall to winter portion of Superman's first year on the job. As such, the movie is paced much slower than something like Justice League War or Doomsday. Parasite, the ultimate main villain here, isn't trying to achieve world domination, so Kal-El can't use his fists to reach a resolution. He has to be a beacon of hope and understanding, both for the citizens of Metropolis who don't yet trust him, and for Parasite, who's running amok. I think that part of the movie was done really well, without coming off as outdated and corny. This is a Superman that is still new to the public and is figuring out things about himself and his heritage, and I liked it. Although my eyes caught a couple background drawings that were a little bit janky, and there was a background music thing, a couple of background issues with this really. A Superman Man of Tomorrow is a solid start to this new WB DC animation continuity. It didn't fly me to the moon, but it made me keep looking up at the sky, hopeful the next movie is just as good. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you like to like and subscribe to things, and I'll see you in the next video when I travel back to the future.